Hello and welcome back to Culture Crush. Today we're talking about why goal setting is slowly killing your confidence and what you can do about it. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined from across the pond by my very good friend, Justin Hills. Justin, it's great to have you on the show.
Hi, Dan. Nice to see you.
Now, you joined me recently for an episode of Culture Crush Live, which is the foundation of today's conversation. But before we dive into any of that, I wanted to ask, not you, Justin, but I wanted to ask our audience today some questions. These questions hopefully are going to set the tone. They're going to help you step into that reflective mindset, help you find your rhythm as you listen to Justin and I's conversation. Question number 1. Does the to-do list fill you with dread? Is it a vortex of unfulfilled aspirations? Question number 2. Do you have a clear vision of what you want your life to look like in 6 months? Where will you be? What will you look back on? What will you celebrate? And number 3, do you find yourself reacting and regretting or reflecting and responding? These are all questions that Justin and I are going to be covering in some form or another. But hopefully that just sets the pace for our conversation in today's episode of Culture Crush. As I mentioned, Justin, you joined me for a recent episode of Culture Crush Live, dealing with this very question, why goal setting is slowly killing your confidence. And for anyone who's not familiar, these Culture Crush Live sessions basically give us the ammunition for a great conversation in the podcast. A guest expert comes and joins me. It's roughly about an hour and they speak for about 10 minutes and they'll dive into their specialist area, like Justin's today. And then we move into a time of group reflection when we hear the thoughts, opinions, feelings, reactions from the group. And it's the content of that conversation which forms this episode. So you're going to hear some of the stuff that Justin talked about in Culture Crush Live, but we don't record those episodes. We don't publish those episodes. If you want to be in the conversation, you've got to join the conversation. And really, this is an evolution of what Justin covered in that session with the thoughts, feelings, expressions, reactions of the group baked right into our conversation. So with that bit of housekeeping done though, Justin, it is great to have you on the show. Why don't you give us a few headlines about you and what you're trying to get done in the world?
Yeah, thank you, Dan. To keep it short and sweet for me, I work with companies, large teams, mid-sized companies, really on helping them achieve their biggest goals. I am a leadership strategist by nature, leadership coach. I work with teams on their performance and really how they can show up in the best light, achieve the most. And leaders are, I have a soft spot for people that are in roles of leadership because I really believe that it is one of the most powerful roles out there. And a leader that is motivated, inspired, and fulfilled in their career truly changes the environment and adds value in all areas of life. And then the opposite is also true. A leader that is, uncertain, unsure, low confidence, low skill, can be very destructive. They can really destroy culture, destroy confidence, and create frustration. What's that comment? People don't leave companies, they leave managers. So I like to work in that sweet spot of working with very ambitious, high-performing individuals that want to lead people, lead performance, and help them achieve their biggest goals. It's what I love to do.
And you are in LA, but you don't have an LA accent. How did this come about? Like, how did you end up over there?
I was actually born in Cornwall, would you know?
There we go.
I was born in Cornwall. I lived on the border of England and Wales most of my childhood. And then in Devon for my late teens, early 20s. And then somehow ended up traveling to various different parts of the world. I lived in London for a long time, New York, and then Copenhagen for a few years and then LA. My journey has been non-linear for sure. But it has been consistent in one area. It's been consistent in, I've been working for big brand companies and then in the marketing and advertising space adjacent and in leadership roles. So leading either projects, product launches, whether it was in the sales and marketing side or in the marketing and advertising side. And then leading people, leading teams and organizations on again, achieving those biggest goals that they have, which is usually communications or launching or performance related and performance driven, should we say? And that, I find myself in Los Angeles, sunny Los Angeles, which is cloudy today, ironically.
Well, there we are. Now, I would say that my story has also been non-linear, but it has not led me around the world. It's sort of led me around the West Midlands, which is, if you're in the UK, you'll know that that's not as exciting as sunny LA. But some, might call where I live now the LA of the West Midlands.
Where do you live, Hannah?
Well, I live in a town called Rugby, which is
I know Rugby.
Which is where the sport rugby was created, where it kind of was brought to life. So there you go. There's a claim to fame. Nobody does call Rugby the LA of the West Midlands, but, maybe I can start something. Anyway, we want to talk about this question, why goal setting is slowly killing your confidence and what you can do about it. And we're going to cover two areas really in our conversation. One, this idea that we're conditioned to believe that action equals progress. And number two, we're going to be diving into the MAPS goal setting system, which you've been creating, I guess, in recent years. Can't wait to dive in both those things. You mentioned working with top performers. And what was really interesting is that the Culture Crush Live group, very mixed bunch of people. Some of those people are flying pretty high in big businesses. And some of those people are people who are starting out for the first time, like they're founders who are trying to make something happen. What I thought was really interesting is that when I asked them, I said, why have you come to this session? What was it about the title, Why Goal Setting is Slowly Killing Your Confidence? What was it about that title that drew you to join us today? And just a really broad range of answers. How do I land a job? How do I generate focus when my ambitions feel so huge? How do I manage my time when I've got a newsletter and it's got 50,000 people on it, right? Such a broad spectrum of reasons why people had shown up. But across the board, we'll all struggle with some pretty common ideas. And it brings me back to that first thing we're going to discuss, that action equals progress. So why don't you take us through what on earth you meant by that? And yeah, I will jump in if I've got any questions.
Yeah. So everyone I work with primarily struggles with a sort of similar thing and you don't have to be an ambitious high performer or identify type A and all these sorts of things, but really is that we are conditioned to take action, to have tasks, to have a to-do list. And that equals progress. And in many ways, you could say, yeah, that's true. It does equal progress. I got to get the groceries. I got to go and, walk the dog. I got to go and book my child's dental visit, whatever those things. You're making progress. But actually, it can get a little hamster wheel-ish. It's that are they actually moving things forwards that are really important in your life? They're busy work, ultimately. So we are conditioned to do busy work. And I'll take a step back, is that when I'm thinking about the sort of clients I work with, I can also relate to what they're going through. I'm a human being also. I do the same thing. So for example, I want to, start a business. When I first planned to start my business, this was a long time ago, not what I have today. The first thing I did was I need a logo. Immediately I went into action. I didn't take the time to define actually, why do I want to create a business? ultimately I was reacting because I didn't want to work in the environment I was working in. I was not really happy in myself. Like, this is what I wanted to escape, essentially. But the first thing I wanted to do is, if I have a logo, then it's official. Did I start a business? No, I didn't. I ended up working for another 10 years before I started business. It was a distraction. So I use that as a very quick example. But when I work with companies, they say, oh yeah, we want to achieve these results. We want to do these things. We want to, inform this behavioral shift, make these types of changes. Okay, well then we need to hire someone, or we need to take this action, or we need to do this thing. They go straight from this high level vision of what success could be, and then they go immediately into action because that makes them feel good. I'm taking action towards something. What they're not doing is actually, is this the right action at the right time in the right way towards massive progress, which is the difference between what we're talking about. And just to explain that again, we're conditioned to believe that action equals progress instead of we're trained to take the right action in the right way at the right time to take massive progress. And there's a big difference there. And that's really the work that I do is just bringing more context and awareness and workshopping. Why is this success? Is it really meaningful? Is this actually what we're trying to achieve? Is this the biggest goal? Or is, again, this busy work?
I love that idea of that the way you frame that: right action, right time, right way. Because I guess what we're talking about is momentum, right? Like we've got this condition to talk about tasks, meaning progress. And I wrote down here, like, tasks really is that about movement. And then the third word I've landed on is about momentum. Like, can you harness the right tasks in the right order that are going to unlock a sense of momentum? Because you can stay busy all the time. Like your point as well about distractions, like creating a logo, right? If you have a logo, it feels official, you're doing a thing. And we see this a lot in corporate businesses, and I see this a lot with founders, where there's like so many courses you can do, so much training you can do. It's like, I need to learn. And if I can just learn enough stuff, then maybe I'm going to start doing it. But of course, there's always another thing to learn. Like there's always another community that you could join, or another course you could buy. And it's easier to say, well, I'm in learning mode, right? That has less resistance to it than I'm in actual kind of like harnessing momentum mode. Like I'm actually doing the thing. You can sort of not do the thing, but pretend you're doing the thing by learning about the thing. Whereas actually we need to do the thing, right?
It's funny because the thought that comes up is it's a form of procrastination.
Yeah.
But there is a learning, I don't have this skill, let me go learn this skill. And then it's like, well, let me just learn that again in a different way, or maybe in a different way, or maybe I realize that then I have to learn something adjacent. You can spend years and thousands of dollars in this learning mode. And it's like you're afraid to actually take the next step. And I relate to that a lot because I'm in a lot of courses around personal brand and various other things in this past year or so with building my own business, which is areas that I feel less confident. Do I have the skill? Technically now I do, but do I have that confidence yet? Not quite yet. So I'm like, oh, is there another course I should take? So right now, why this is so interesting, I am stopping to join anything at the moment because I see that it is a form of procrastination for me. And I'm not taking the action. I'm not making the decision that's moving me to my goals,
Yeah, I think it feels like it's a form of risk avoidance. Like you're less exposed to the burning platform if you are, because it feels like it feels like you're doing something about the challenge you're facing, right? But I often see people, kind of activist focused people who've got a sense that they're called to serve or do something good in the world. And often they're either too comfortable, there's not enough on the line, so they don't really ever take action because there's risk involved. You asked me before this call, like, what are you running away from or what are you running towards? And I think sometimes you can be afraid that your bank balance is going to run dry. Like, that's a good motivator to get you to take action. Or you can feel like you're wanting to run towards something. But I meet a ton of founders who are actually just too comfortable, and you can swap out actually doing the work by doing another course. That you can just sub those things out, and they don't even realize they're doing it. Right, as you say, it's that kind of form of like stealth procrastination. But yeah, if you haven't got that kind of that motivator, that sense of burning platform, that sense of I'm running towards this thing, it's going to keep you locked into that I need to learn something mode all the time. And there's a sort of an adjacent thought that I had the other day. I've become a big bookmarking guy, like on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever. Like the amount of things that I save because I go, oh, that's interesting, and I go back and read none of it. Like I never go back and so I've got this huge library of like what I think are probably might be great ideas, and when I go back to the list and I'm like, should I bin some of this stuff? I can then never decide because I haven't read any of the things, so I don't know which of it's good and which of it's what's not good. And that's a similar kind of thing again, right? That we're sort of collecting information all the time that we're never going to use, and that's kind of another form of like list building, right?
Have you ever heard of a guy called I think his name's Tago Forte?
Yeah.
You have, yeah. Building Your Second Brain is his book. And I really loved listening to his work. I follow his work quite a lot, actually. And it's fascinating that in today's environment, social environment, we have access to so much information. So we're all doing what you're doing. In one way or another, we're saving information that inspires us in the moment, and we're putting it all over the internet. We're saving it in our phones, in notes, in email, in adjacent apps that we found, like, oh, this is a good way to collate information in the social platforms and all that sort of stuff. It's disorganized all over the place. And it's overwhelming, actually. Like it still adds weight to you. It's like you're carrying it around. There's no order or structure to it. And he has this system called Para, I think it's called, where he helps you organize your digital life, your second brain, as it were, so that you can actually use the information. So save something that you use versus just save for saving's sake. And I think we do that on many levels. And it does take away a lot of, I know, maybe we feel productive in some form, but it actually doesn't help us. We're not using it. We're not taking the action that we need. So in going back to like, action equals progress, it's not helpful. Everyone has a to-do list. You will always have a to-do list. But are those the right things to do to get you to the place that you're really aiming for? The thing that actually brings you meaning and joy and purpose. So going back to the founders that are sort of floundering, they have none of that heart in their direction. They're comfortable and it's safe, and they probably worked their asses off to get there. And at some point they had drive, and now it's just like, okay, it's not that exciting anymore. So it's not like go and learn. It's what are you excited about in the future? Like what does you may have changed as a person, and your business is safe and healthy. Why do you need to focus on your business? Maybe there's something outside of work that is the inspiration. But unless you do that investigation, you're not going to have that motivation and that inspiration and that drive. And the funny thing is that pops up for me is that I think about burnout a lot. I think a lot of people think about burnout a lot. And I've always thought about it in a very simple way, that burnout is one side of the coin and the other side of the coin is inspiration. when you're inspired, you don't burn out because you have this just inherent like energy towards an outcome because you're focused on it. When you start to burn out is when it loses some of its luster, and then you realize, oh, I'm actually not taking care of myself. Or you're in an environment that there's no inspiration, there's no purpose, there's no meaning. It feels robotic and formulaic, and it just, we're meaning driven people. Humans aren't driven by nature. So I think there's a lot to talk about in that related to goals, it's like, I personally do better in life when I've got something to focus on every 3 months. Like if it's my fitness, is I am doing some form of event, whether it's some sort of walking charity event or whether it's like some CrossFit thing. It doesn't matter, but I've got a singular focus that gets me up, that keeps my routine going. I need those milestones in my life in all sorts of things, whether it's healthy eating, whether it's working out, whether it's my business. And when I don't, I get lost and I get distracted incredibly easily. And when I get distracted, it turns into something else. It turns into busy, undirected energy.
But I think that's one of the things we're going to come on and talk about when we focus on the MAPS goal setting system. I think some of what you're talking about there about having those milestones of things you can look towards, I think it's going to come up in there. But just to kind of wrap this section, right action, right time, right way. I think for me, the real big takeaway there is that there are lots of things that are just simply the wrong action, like wrong tasks that don't unlock momentum, saving more and more information that you think you're going to use. It might make you feel inspired or make you feel active, but it's the wrong action. Or, going on the other course, those ways that you're procrastinating rather than doing the thing that you've been put on this earth to do, reaching out to those people you've been called to serve. So right action, right time, right way. I think that is a really profound.
I'm going to correct there, actually. I think take the right action at the right time for the right reason.
Yeah.
Spoke there. That equals massive progress. So the reason is critical. Like the right way is also, I guess, maybe important, but the right reason is actually difference maker.
Yeah.
The why behind you're taking the action. And you can use this in your next time you save something on Instagram is, why am I saving this? Is it, do I like it because that looks delicious and I want to cook that with my wife? Or is it actually, this is going to help me inform my client work? Or actually I want to read this book. Like, what is the reason behind the saving it? And I think we all do the same, Dan. We all save things, but we don't ask that question. Because if you choose not to save it, would your life change?
Yeah. It's a really interesting, why am I saving something? I think often it's that thing of, I'm going to miss out on a piece of wisdom here that I need to apply. And it's probably actually relates to my own anxieties around business, right? Like I want to achieve some measure of success. And so when I see something that perhaps prods at that feeling of like, you're not going to make it, it almost doesn't matter if the thing that I've got in front of me is genuinely a path to resolving that issue. But the person who's posted it, whether they're meant to or not, has probably provoked the right emotional response from me. So then I go, I need to return to that because that might be useful. Like maybe it's like a survival instinct that this might be interesting to help me survive. It almost is never the case, but it's interesting to recognize there's that prompt in me. And where this is taking me actually, Justin, is that one of the things I talk to people I work with a lot is it's not about finding and creating new stories about you and your brand all the time. It's actually about focusing on a couple of threads and building real depth and expertise in those few things. And I bet that the reason why some of that content prods the anxieties in me is because there are areas of my business that I haven't developed enough depth with yet. And because I don't have the depth, there's not the confidence. And so therefore I'm an easy mark for some of those content
Plus, you're an
creators
ambitious
out there.
person, Dan. And I think this is, not everyone thinks like us, but there's a lot of people that are listening to this that absolutely relate to this. You're an ambitious person. So you're thinking about 100 different ways that success shows up for you in the future. So what you saved yesterday is because you've got an idea over here. Are you going to get to that idea in this life? Maybe, maybe not, because there are other things that are more important, which is the right thing to be focused on. So, but they do weigh on you. They're in your mind. They're sort of sat on your shoulder. They're constant reminders. You see them often because it's like when you see a red car, you see red cars everywhere. When you actually identify that you're looking for a red car to buy, then you see them everywhere. Right? It's that there's something in that sort of cognition and awareness that so you're probably seeing these things because it's on your mind. Like, oh, I want to be that person. I want to have that. But what's sort of coming up for me as I think about it and how it relates to the goal system that we're going to talk about is emotion. It makes us feel good to be busy until it doesn't, until it's exhausting. It makes us feel good to know we're going towards something. But actually, emotion is the wrong, I know there's no right and wrong in the world necessarily, but I'm going to use it in this term, it's really the wrong area. It's the wrong filter. We should be looking at things really objectively, like functionally, and have emotion layered into it, but the right type of emotion. So we're talking about success feelings. We're talking about, my life has changed for the better feeling because I've achieved these things. Not because I need to, or I should do, or I want to, not out of like fear and doubt and, anxiety and, urgency, but out of like celebration, out of like, oh, this feels incredible. And then with that information, we get into very objective thinking, that there's no room for can I, should I, is it the right thing? Like those nervousness feelings, and we break it down into pieces, and then we bring back the sort of humanity over the top. Is like, what will it feel like to achieve these things versus the other way around? And actually, the system is really functionally built that way to get rid of your general fears. So you can you can look at the process objectively and strategically and from an action-orientated place, and singularly also. We focus on less to achieve more.
So let's stay with the well, there's a couple of extra things I just wanted to mention, because but I want us to stay with the MAPS goal setting system at this stage. But yeah, there was one guy called Scott who was on the call, and he was talking about how exhausting it is. And you mentioned just now how exhausting it is to be constantly pursuing your goals, and the amount of mess that comes with that. We've talked about a lot of ways that we're generating mess already on this call with to-do lists and second brain systems and saving stuff from social media. But the stuff that we're going to be talking about now with the MAPS goal setting system is very much about articulating things in the right order for the right reasons, right? So we're going to return some of those kind of right statements. But two stats really stood out to me from Culture Crash Live. You had these up on screen for us, but one was that people who write their goals X30 their results, like they see 30 times better results when people write their goals, and only 10% of people achieve their goals. So people's typical response is to start shrinking their goals. So they make themselves less so they feel that they have achieved. Yeah. Right? And I just thought those two stats are really interesting.
Yeah, let me talk about that study. So that's a study that was done in 2020 that only 10% of people successfully achieve their ambitious goals. Now, we're not talking about like basic goals, which
Going
I
to the
think
shop.
most people talk about is like, I got a goal to save, $100 this week, this month, or what have you. These are we're talking about ambitious goals, goals that change your life, that change your environment. Say, like maybe it's like getting a job, like changing career, starting a business, our team achieving something that would transform the entire organization, or our ability to perform, all these sorts of things. But things that you're like, oh my God, this is what I want us to do. This is why it's important. But yeah, so the research shows that 10% achieve them. So that means that 90% fail to achieve them. And as a result, the data shows us that 89% of those people that failed, they reduce their goals. They make them smaller, so they're quote unquote easier to achieve. So then, is life really worth it when we're just, doing little things all the time? Aren't we just going back to, well, what about if 90% of people only don't achieve those smaller goals? Are they then going to go smaller and smaller? It's like what is it called? With diminishing returns. Like you're just basically creating a smaller, you're acting small maybe. So I think it's a really interesting research study. And then not only that is actually how it impacts people. It impacts their motivation, their sense of purpose, their sense of self, their sense of self-esteem. Can I achieve these things? Am I good enough to achieve these things? Am I worthy? Like you then start to criticize and question yourself, which I actually think takes you down a whole different road. What if you could achieve your ambitious goals and you were in the 10%? What's the difference there? Once you've achieved a major goal, it's like you're always a gold medal winner, right? Like you're always an Olympic athlete because you've achieved something. And the steps to achieve anything is the steps to achieve everything. It's the same because it's functional, it's process, it's system. It's not emotion. Emotion is did I do it? Did I not do it? How do I feel about that? There's a lot in that research that inspired me.
So thinking about processes and shaping things and writing things down, the MAPS goal setting system, the kind of context for this was about how do you work backwards from the end, right? Like how do you work backwards from stuff?
Do you remember the question I asked everybody at the beginning?
I do, but ask it again now because I think it's a real good one.
Everybody is like, so for your audience, I want you to think about this. Who's going on vacation in the next, say 12 months, 6 to 12 months? And the question is, very simply, do you book your travel before you know where you're going? Before you know the destination? Pretty much universal is going to say no, right? So then, do you pack your bags before you book your travel? No, it's sort of a ludicrous idea. It's like, you're an idiot, Justin, for even asking this. But then when we think about goals, it's exactly what we do. We go, okay, I want to achieve something. And then our first step's got to be it's got to be the logo, right? It's got to be, let me get the Instagram account before you've even established why you want to do this in the first place. So using sort of analogy of travel, the steps, and I'll take you through the MAP system. So MAPS, M-A-P-S. MAPS, M is measure, A is aspire, P is prioritize, S is stack. So to go through those individually and just use the analogy of travel. When you travel next year with your family, Dan, what's the first thing that you're probably going to do? You're going to talk about, well, where did we go last year? You just said to me, maybe it wasn't long enough this year, right? So M equals measure is to reflect, to look back. What was our vacation like last year, honey? Well, I actually think it was too short because I didn't get a chance to switch off. Okay, so that's one piece of information. Where did we go? Did we enjoy it? Was it fun? Yeah, it was a beach vacation and it was chill, but I didn't get time to relax and I want more. What would be let's just talk about it. Oh, well, I love the place, but we had trouble, what did you say to me? We had trouble the first night with our room and our accommodation. Okay, so maybe we do an Airbnb in the future. So you start to analyze, you start to reflect, you start to think about where did we go? Why did we go there? What was really fun about it? What wasn't so fun about it? So now you have information that will help inform your next trip.
Just to say, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, if you're curious, Justin and I had a sort of microtherapy session before the call, reflecting on my recent holiday with my very pregnant wife. It was our last hurrah, a very relaxed hurrah. So thanks for the therapy, but that's the context.
So then let's get into A, right? So you've done some reflection, think about your goals. How I like to work with this, I only like to work in 6-month increments. So in terms of sort of measure, go back to today is May 7th. So go back to December 7th, and think, what have I achieved in the last 6 months that I'm really proud of? What has driven my success? What can I reflect on that was something that I planned to achieve and I achieved? What were things that I achieved that I didn't plan to achieve? Who did I meet? Who helped me along the way? What did I not achieve actually over that time that I'm really bummed about, or I wish I could have got to? How many things did I save in Instagram that I never got to, even though they excite me, right? It's all about reflection. Now, reflection, it's important to acknowledge is that experience is not the only way that we learn. It's actually through reflecting on that experience is how we learn. It's a big part of success is to be able to understand what success has been recently so that we know that we can achieve it again and again and again.
Yeah.
Big deep sigh there.
Yeah, this is resonating with me because I just thought back to 6th of December and I found myself just doing a little mental audit whilst I was listening to you, and I thought, well, I'm a new business owner. You said that I was ambitious, and I guess that's true, and I guess I make my way through probably a large portion of my life feeling probably slightly dissatisfied that I'm not further down the track. And a bit too busy because you're doing everything when I'm a team of one. However, I mentioned that my wife and I are having a baby pretty soon. We've moved house. We're renting currently, but we moved neighborhoods to fix my wife's commute. We're purchasing a house, which is all moving forward, and we've signed things, so it's getting pretty real. My company Anthem is generating a pretty sustainable revenue at this point. It's I would say we're enjoying some success, but there's obviously more stability to build. And so I think if I look back, the Culture Crush community has grown hugely in the last 6 months, by 1,000 people. And I think I perhaps didn't write those things down 6 months ago and go these are the things that I want to achieve. But mentally I had, they're all things that my wife and I had discussed or things that I want to achieve for the business. And I don't think there's not one of them that I've not achieved, that I've not missed the kind of the emotional mental target that I would have had for myself. I've not missed any of those things. And isn't it funny? Because I never think about it in those terms of reflecting, creating space to go, did I do the things that I wanted to do in the last 6 months? Yeah, 100%. Because I never think about it.
It's something that people don't think about often. And, in the work that I do, it's where I start. People immediately start to work with me and they say, this is what I want to create. This is what's not working for me. I want to go from here to here. And my first question is well, let's just go back 6 months. What are you really proud of? because we do not give ourselves enough time and space to celebrate things, small things, big things, things that were by accident. Like I didn't plan to meet Dan in the last 6 months. Actually, we met around this time 6 months ago. So let's celebrate our relationship. So, but I didn't plan that. But it's been really nice. I've had many conversations with you. But it wasn't on my goals list. It wasn't on my got to go meet Dan, got to go and meet this type of person doing this type of thing. So I'm surprised and also very appreciative of that. Taking the time to celebrate, acknowledge, just validate that you're moving forwards, that you're building, that you're evolving, that you're growing. These are all signs to show you that you're a good person. And we live in this myopic place where we're grinding, most of us, or at least the people I work with. Next. Can't stop, won't stop, got to keep moving. Pause, reflect, knowledge. I've done some really good things this year, but I haven't given myself the space to acknowledge those things. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. And it's a relief to know that you're actually successful, because we talk about, well, success looks like this, success looks like this. We don't feel in the moment that we're in it. You're already in the success. That's the first part. And, when I go through this process with people, I'd say it's about 3 to 4 hours total when I do it. You can also do it in 30 minutes by yourself when you've gone through it a few times. But just taking the time to actually acknowledge these steps gives you perspective. You also get out of the rat race. You talk about being on the tracks all the time, like further down the track. It's a future state. What about being here right now and just acknowledging where you're at and being proud of them? What does that feel like? And what a generous gift that you're giving yourself today to do that. So then we move into the future, because we visualize only 6 months into the future. I want you to achieve your biggest goals, but I actually want you to, your biggest goal may be, I want to have a $100 billion company. It's like, okay, guy, sure, we'll get there. But what does success look like December 7th, 2025? Let's move to that place. We're now, today, December 7th, 2025. What have I achieved since May 7th, 2025 that I am really proud of? What does success look like from that perspective? So we're reflecting from a future state. What has changed for me? The website is awesome. I'm converting my clients. The logo is bedazzled. Whatever the hell it is. Like, my team is thriving. My team are happy. We've turned this client around. The feedback that we're getting is that we're doing the right work. We're doing things that are truly making an impact. And then we break that down. So you start to analyze this. So going back to the travel metaphor, is like, what is the experience I want to have this year? Well, I'm going to have a 6-month-old baby. So I actually want it to be as light as possible. So you and your wife could just do a weekend trip. It's no phones, no this, no that. So you design it. It's like, this will be really nice. It'll be a really nice place for us to go. We'll have a 6-month-old or a 5-month-old. Let's just go locally. Let's just go to the Cotswolds. Let's just go and be in nature. Let's just sit by the lake and watch the ducks, right? You're visualizing that success. And then from there, you go into designing that. Okay, so I'm not going to pack my bag straight away because I haven't had a child yet. Where are places like that? Is it right to book that now, or do we want to wait a little while? Where this comes back into the business sense is that now you've visualized, so say your team is thriving, the roles and responsibilities that you have all been filled. It's not like 3 people doing 4 people's roles. It's 4 people. Can you hear my dog barking, by the way?
I can. What's your dog's name?
His name's Bandit.
Bandit, do you want to come on the podcast? Hey, Bandit. Have you got anything you want to talk about?
We're on the side. He wants to
What are your aspirations for 6 months, Bandit? No, he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be...
More squirrel friends is his ambition.
It's a simple, more food, more squirrel friends, more belly rubs. I'm happy. I wish I was that easy to satisfy.
Well, we talk about satisfaction, right? Defining satisfaction could be what your aspirational process is. So when you work A, which is aspire, it could be I want to feel satisfied. Okay, what does that actually mean to you? Because what your satisfaction and what my satisfaction is different. So we got to analyze. And this is the process actually. And I like to do this one-on-one with people at a high level because you need someone to get you out of your head and your heart. You need someone to sort of shake you and go, what do you mean by that, Dan? What does satisfaction actually mean to you? And then we define it. What does success actually mean to you? We're only focused on biggest goals, not like everyday goals. So in 6 months' time, I am celebrating that we have got 2 new corporate clients. Our product is launched. Our sales are, but people are happy. The culture is happy. Or we've turned this around. Or we're fully staffed. Or I'm going on vacation with my wife and I'm taking a week off and I don't care about work. Like that's what success is. Or satisfaction is we're in the house, all unpacked, which I'd argue that most people don't do. They have boxes they live in for 12 years. So then you move on to prioritize. So P is prioritization. Prioritization, I think most people don't know actually how to prioritize. I think it's actually quite a hard skill to learn. And it's a deeper analysis of areas that you need to prioritize, not tasks. If I was to break everything down, what are the 1 to 3 areas that I would need to focus on to actually make that happen? It could be for the travel, it could be researching. It could be, researching accommodations. You could spend a month doing that. For your business, it could be hiring. It could be investing in marketing. They're areas. And then bring more definition. So what is the one thing that we can focus on that by focusing on everything else becomes easier? Everything else becomes maybe unnecessary. Everything is always a priority for everybody. Well, we can't do everything. It's not true, actually. You just need to focus on 1 or 2 things and they're going to drive 80%. I mean, you can use the 80-20 rule really well here. Focus on the things that are going to get you the closest, the furthest, quicker, and those areas. And then from there, we go in, like that should take about half of the 4 hours that I work with people on, because you explore everything. This is where you get out of your head, you put everything on the table, you look at it independently without emotion, you sort of analyze it, and then you go, okay, well, let's build that plan. I'm excited by this. This is thrilling. I'm really motivated. And people are energized. We're going on vacation, honey. I know where we're going. I know the experience I want. Or we know what success is going to be in 6 months for us, and it's really thrilling. We're all on board. This is a great team exercise to do, by the way. And then we actually set our goals. And then we do reverse goal stacking. So we work from success, and then we come back halfway to 3 months. What is the one thing, 1 to 3 things max, that we need to absolutely have achieved by the 3-month date? So June, July, August 7th. What does that look like? What is the milestone? Gives us that measurement of success. And any other ancillary information to that. But what is the one thing, if we have done by this date, we're going to be successful? So that's the 3-month mark. Then we work back to the 1-month mark, which is just 4 weeks from now. It's 20 working days. What do we need to achieve on June 7th? By that time that we are going to achieve our 6th month success. Then we work back to 7 days. So 1 week from now. So by this time next week, what have we done? Complete that helps us achieve that 6-month success because it also connects to like a dominoes knock-on effect. So now we know what success looks like in 1 week, Dan. So what do we need to do by tomorrow morning? What's the first thing that we need to do right now? Now we've analyzed all that information. So the next action that we take is directly attributed to success in 6 months. Now, if you think about it through the lens of a business, and we'll just use, say someone is staffing, they know that there's a critical role that they've got 3 other people that are all trying to do. It's not their skill set, but they're all, heavy lifting for the team. We need to hire that role. So success in 3 months could be the person has been hired and they're day one, with minimum day one on August 7th. So 4 weeks before that is that we need to be interviewing about 10 people by that time. So scheduled into, it takes ages to hire people. So June 7th, we want 10 candidates at minimum that we're working through. Very tangible things. And then you can think about you're briefing a recruiter or someone like that. It's like minimum 10 people in the system at high quality by this time. And a week from now is that, this job description is nowhere close. So by next Friday, we need to have sent this job description to the recruiter and designed like the super high quality flow. That's a week from now. It's not very long. So what is the first thing I need to do by tomorrow? Well, this job description we have is sort of out of date. Like if success, 6-month success starts right now, what is the first thing that we need to do that's going to help us achieve that? And it's probably like, okay, we need to just analyze what's everyone doing, what is this role, let's update this. We got to focus on that. That's just an example. And there you go. That's the system. Job done.
So measure, aspire, prioritize, and then that reverse goal stacking piece at the end. And I think that is such I think it's going to be such a groundbreaking way for people if they're willing to apply this. I think it's going to be a breaking way for people to rethink the way they're approaching their tasks, challenges, things they need to get done in the world. Because we talked before about distractions, right? Jumping on courses, like saving another thing, like all the noise and digital noise that we create. And I mentioned that it's often not about doing more and more, reading more and more, learning more and more. It's about developing depth around some things. And what I love about what you've described, memorable, right? Clearly, but it's also a practice that somebody can begin to develop depth around, even if they don't get the chance to work one-on-one with you for 4 hours. And I hope that many people do. But actually, you can just start experimenting with this tomorrow and start developing depth around it. Start practicing it.
The other thing, Dan, here that you just reminded me of is that this isn't new. This has helped me. How I've designed this has helped me change my life in so many ways. And it's helped me work with my clients in a way that's changed their lives, their businesses. It's given them a roadmap. It's given them confidence. But this is not new stuff. I would argue that the back end of this goal system is just, a work back schedule, which every product manager, every project manager in the planet knows what that is. Anyone that has put anything in market in any way, shape or form has used a work back schedule. So just think about it. Sales day, sales numbers, ambitions and goals, revenue generating. What do we need to do? What are the core milestones of that project? And we work backwards. Because you have timelines, you have production timelines, you have manufacturing timelines, you have marketing timelines. You've got to map all that stuff out. It's basic one-on-one project management, really. So then you're just doing that for your goals, which we don't do. We don't think about it. So work backwards, add milestones, add owners, add measurements. If you're doing this for your own goals, you're the owner. But if you're doing this in a team, who's the owner of this project? At this milestone, what needs to be approved or not approved? in these, who are the participants? Who's the reviewer? Who's the actual approver of these milestones? Like, you just bring the information in. It's so much easier, sets expectations. It's actually, when people are certain, they're more confident, they take action, they know where they are, they know what skills they need to show up. It just flows. When you're uncertain and you have questions, that's where all the judgment comes in. I don't know why I'm here. Why am I in this meeting? What is the point of all this, right? You could just feel the unnecessary wasted energy. There's no clarity, there's no action.
Very true. But I also love the fact that there is also a really simple, brutally simple application of this, right? In that, if you just use the map section, measure, aspire, prioritize, because there are certain things. You mentioned going for a holiday in the Cotswolds, right? And sitting by the lake and watching the ducks. Like, I had such a vivid image in my mind when you said that. And I thought that sounds bloody lovely, right? And here's the thing. That doesn't require, I don't really need to think about, like, if I'm going to go away in 6 months with my wife, I don't necessarily need to think, like, what do I need to do this Friday to prepare for that, right? Because it's a smaller thing. So what I love about this is that you can actually just think about measure, aspire, and prioritize for smaller stuff. And also focus on what's the emotional ROI of you thinking about that thing. And what I loved about the example you gave is that, I could totally imagine that for our next vacation, thinking less about what are all the things that we want to do, or are there excursions that we want to take, and like, do I plan a whole thing? And just think about, actually, what's a moment that I'd like to create? And that moment could just be sit in a park, watch some birds.
Which is actually often harder for a lot of people. So we had this discussion beforehand, briefly, right? So when you're talking about that, just to sit, just to be peaceful, I can imagine a lot of people on this podcast are sort of tweaking out, like, but I won't have my phone, and how do I do that? And I got all these things and all these pressures. You have to design that for certain people, not everybody. A lot of people can switch off. I'm not someone that can switch off easily. So I would want to design that space with my partner and my child. So you go through the same process. How do I create 3 to 4 days, and as a business owner, to prepare anyone that I'm working with, is that I am unavailable. That's a mental, emotional, and a functional and practical process. That's just as hard as booking a flight to Tenerife or the Maldives or anything. If you think about it, it's the same thing.
So much for us to think about, and we're coming into land, as you might have guessed.
On the plane.
But it's been so wonderful, Justin, spending this extra time with you following our Culture Crush Live meetup. I haven't had much chance to reference people, particularly throughout this particular recording, but I want to say Scott, Oma, Victoria, there was a whole bunch of other people who contributed your thoughts and your direction in this conversation. It's kind of been baked in throughout this time. Like, normally I like to kind of raise particular points that people have mentioned. But thank you for your contributions and helping Justin and I curate this episode. Justin, I am going to be taking maps around with me this week and in the coming weeks, because it's one of those things that I want to practice using. Like, I want to see if I can begin to develop this technique into practice for myself, not just about the big stuff, but some of those smaller things as well. But thank you so much, my friend, for taking the time, making a hole in your schedule for Culture Crush. And I'm sure, right, we're going to speak again soon, yeah? And that's a wrap for today's episode of Culture Crush. If you've enjoyed your time with us, please like and subscribe wherever you're listening from. And if you're a Culture First leader, be sure to visit anthem.oo and join us for the next Culture Crush Live. It will be great to see you there.